Please subscribe Raj Shamani Clips channel if you want to become a better leader for tomorrow and achieve your Indian dream in short amount of time with just small clips.
What's the Indian attitude now? Why do you think India will win?
India
Because
will
obviously India, apart from the fact that, okay, our middle class is growing, we have the largest democracy, we have foreign funds coming in, everybody's thinking that, hey, this is it. But why would you feel India will win?
I don't think so. Right? India has an opportunity to win, which is why I said we can't be complacent. Like Will gets into that complacency sort of mindset. Right? I think there's a great opportunity to win because I think the circumstances are like there are a lot of cards that have aligned over the last few years, right? Now some people may not agree. I think the government has done a good job in whatever time frame. At least that mindset, like, you know, some of the folks I see, like it's like a company, right? How do you think about getting, like in a startup, you always think about getting A players. You see a lot of these folks in the government today are A players. You know, ex-IITians, ex-foreign ministers, all of those sort of folks, right? And when you look at them, like they're aspirational. They're not like, you know, there's somebody else in the government. So very aspirational. Like for example, I was watching this video where Sundar Pichai was on stage and Ashwini Vaishnav was alongside him. Both of them are IITians. Yeah. Right? So that's very aspirational to look at that. So I think that building that A-player team and mindset has been very critical. Obviously, a lot of geopolitical stuff that has happened in the last 2-3 years with the China thing, and you know how people are discovering that's not going in the right direction. And a lot of now FDI investments coming in India. And I also feel like a lot of that startup economy, I still think there's a lot of large conglomerates dominating the country. But I think the startup economy is done very well. Although it's debatable how many of these companies will survive. But I think it's a phase. You go back and look at US in the dot-com era. That's how it was. You know, there was a dot-com boom, then a bust. Few companies survived. It's survival of the fittest, right? It's capitalism, essentially. And then you will see things maturing over the next 10-15 years. So I think India will go through that phase as well. I think I would say India would see success and would have sort of arrived when there are more and more startups that can call themselves, you know, successful without VC money.
Okay.
Right. I think that's how I would put it.
But why do you want to? Okay, tell me. Why do you want to be successful without VC money? Is there anything wrong with VC money and getting successful?
No,
because
there's nothing wrong.
Exactly, because I tell you, right? I was reading about the top startups of the world, right? They all have taken external capital in some or the other way and raised shit tons of money, not small, shit tons of money, and have believed in themselves for decades and keep pumping eventually to make it sense one day.
No, absolutely. And I don't think there's anything wrong with VC money. VC money should be a lever, or should be thought as a lever to sort of get to where you need to get to, right? But it cannot become a crutch. So there's a difference, right? The difference is if your business cannot sustain without that money in the longer run, that's when there is a problem. Because at the end of the day, it's that whole game. VC's model works a certain way, right? They have to get exits. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it has to come to public markets or somebody has to acquire them. Yeah. Those are the only two routes. There's no other route. If you're dependent on somebody acquiring you, that's not in your control. If it's public markets and you still cannot create a business model, things will tank, right? You can still inflate it till a certain point, but at some point it'll tank. But those are not the companies that will create the next wave of economy or the change we want in the country, right? So to be able to create that, I think there have to be meaningful companies who go public and then can sustain themselves and then create that value.
But I tell you, here's what I'm just asking you again, because you understand this much better than me. Think about any company, okay, whether it's a large conglomerate or a small startup. What essentially VC money is saying? VCs are saying that, hey, you're a small guy. Yeah. We know that you don't have enough money as conglomerate. You can't fight with them. But I think you have a brilliant idea. Let me put you in a level field with a conglomerate. Let's fight together.
Sure.
Okay. Sure. That's exactly what VCs do, right? Or else, let's say, a Reliance of the world or the Adanis of the world or the, you know, I don't know, XYZ group of the world will always come up with products because they have hundreds of crores to pump in. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So what VCs say, you have an idea, can you beat them? Can you do faster? Can you do better? They have 100 crores, we give you 60 crores. Yeah. Beat them in 60. If you do that, we'll give you 600 crores. Fuck them. Yeah. And that's essentially the whole idea is. Yeah. So you don't know whether your business is going to make sense at the end of the day or no. You always work with your thesis, with your research, with the team, in a belief that one day it'll make sense. I'll give you an example, right? There are two examples which I really think, and world celebrates them. That's why I really like to put it out. Okay, there's a startup called Zudio, right? Have you heard of it? Tata.
No, I haven't. Right.
So Tata started, let's say something like Zara, but for tier 2, tier 3 cities in India.
Sure.
Okay, they started their showrooms called Zudio. It's a fashion brand. Everywhere they opened like very good looking showrooms, and then people buying it. And in just I think year 2 or year 3, they have made it's like a 1,000-2,000 crore revenue business or something more than that, and they're profitable. It's crazy, right? Everybody's celebrating. Look what Zudio has done. Look what Zudio has done. Man, we never thought ki yaar kaise kar lega koi aake. Tata's have done exceptionally well. They learned everything from Zara and then they copy pasted everything, right? Like they say, brilliant. I agree with that. Excellent execution. Why is nobody talking that the pump in 600 crores on day one?
Sure.
Right? Sure. It was Tata who had 600 crores to put in the country to say that, hey, for a year, I'm just going to open good stores. I'm just going to focus on my supply chain and sourcing. And I'm just going to keep doing it again and again and again. That eventually it makes sense. So it made money. Okay, that's one. Sure. Second example was, have you heard of Mammy Poco Pants?
Poco Pants, yeah, I've seen those ads. Yeah,
you have seen those ads, right? Like it's diaper, it's baby diapers. India was dominated by Pampers and Huggies.
Right.
There was only. So one Japanese brand, Unicharm, they decided that I want to go and kill India and I want to own the market share in India. For 6 years, every year they bleed 100 to 150 crores. Every year. Just on advertising, distribution and trade discounts. Nothing else.
Sure.
It's like just branding, marketing. For 6 years we do this. 7th year, they're the market leaders. They absolutely dominate the market. Where Huggies, there was a point, I think Huggies and Pampers together didn't have market as much as them.
Sure.
Right? So 6-7 years it took them to go and do the most boring business, which is going to give them like 10-15% EBITDA at the end of the day.
Sure.
So most of the brands, if you look at, whether it's conglomerates or startups, you have to, in order to pump in money with some idea, with some gut for 5, 6, 10 years, to make a place for yourself. Sure. So what's wrong about it?
No, I'm not denying any of that. In fact, if you see Jio or on Amazon, they've done the same thing, right? So I'm not denying any of that. I think what I'm saying is, I think everybody starts with the VC thing and saying there will be a light at the end of the tunnel and we will become profitable or unit economics will work out, right? I think the companies that can do that, that's where the success is going to be. I'm saying for India to change as an economy, more and more companies have to get across the other side of the tunnel.
Got it.
Yeah, today that's not the situation.
Yeah.
Right. So for example, if the country is still sort of dependent on, these kind of companies and where the tunnel is not crossed yet, I think there is still a heavy reliance on the VCs and that has to change is what I'm saying. Right.
Fair.
So there's nothing wrong with it. And I don't think it's easy to, or I think it may not even be possible to build a B2C company at that scale without putting that money in.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably required to be done, and that's where VC's model comes in. But what I'm saying is, I think the question was, when do we think the economy can change? I think we need those startups to also, it cannot always be the Ambanis and the Adanis sort of dominating markets, or Tatas for that matter, dominating markets. There have to be more startups dominating certain verticals. And that's when I think the entire economy will then there'll be more belief that like you can take markets and be market leaders in there. That belief has to change. Right. Today, I think, and it'll happen in steps. I don't think I'm saying it'll happen overnight.
Yeah.
So I think this phase has to happen. There'll be, the best companies left. Some of the companies will sort of, or most companies will perish. Some companies will come out as winners. But at the end of this, few companies have to cross the tunnel.
Thank you for watching this till the end. If you want to become a better leader for tomorrow, then subscribe our channel for more such clips.